Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for the Deer Talk Now podcast. I am Daniel Schmidt, by the way. I'm not the only survivor in this office. Chris Berens is here to join me once again for the podcast. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Hey, glad to be here.
This is awesome. So we're recording this podcast leading up to gun season, but if you're not a gun hunter, don't go away because Chris is an ardent bow hunter too. So we're going to be talking about all things deer and deer hunting, with a strong emphasis on upcoming rifle seasons and public land hunting. So if you're a public land hunter or you even hunt near public land or small private parcels, that's what we're talking about today. A couple things, housekeeping I want to talk about first. If you don't get this magazine, either print-wise or digital-wise, you're missing out. It's America's first and foremost whitetail source deer and deer hunting. I've been here for almost 30 years. This thing has been in business for over 50 or almost 50 years with the stump sitters. And 10 issues, digital or print, you're going to get that right there. You're going to get a brand new knife, nice and orange one. You're not going to lose that out in the woods, Chris.
Very cool. Yeah, very sharp.
Little serrated blade. It's $19, but I have to ask Ian, our crack producer. Ian, how much did you pay for that fake mustache? I mean, how much did you pay for your Starbucks today?
I think $3.94.
$3.94. So just say $4.
Right.
So for 3 cups of coffee, you can get 10 info-packed magazines, either digital or print, sent to your door, and a knife. I don't think you're going to get that deal anywhere else.
I don't think so. That's a pretty good deal.
It's an awesome deal, and you can do your fancy venison cutting up with this. It's very sharp. I'm on blood thinner, so I'm closing that thing right now. Okay, Chris, we're talking about first of all, we're talking about upcoming gun season.
Okay. Holy Week, as we call it in Wisconsin.
That's right, Holy Week. 9 days of pure, unadulterated deer camp.
That's right.
Deer camp fun. Let's back up a little bit and talk about the thing that I find most fascinating of any gun hunter, no matter where you are. That's usually your christening into deer hunting.
Yeah.
So tell me about yours. How did you get christened into deer hunting?
I was lucky that I had a deer camp that I could go to. My dad, my uncles, their great uncles, lots of older guys. And that was like the culmination, kind of the start of becoming a man, as us boys, adventure, and you hear about the stories and then you get to go. I got to go when I was 11. Couldn't carry a gun, obviously, but I could go for like Thanksgiving weekend and just hang out and walk around, stumble around the woods, and it was great. I was excited. The next year I got, hunter safety when I was 12 and could go if we, you get all your homework done ahead of time and talk to your teachers, and you might have to have a letter from your parents, and you can take the whole week off and get to go and just spend the weekend in the woods with the guys and
that's
soak
cool.
It all in,
11.
Yeah.
And did you get to hunt then when you were 12?
Yeah, when I was 12, you got to stay with at least back then, you had to stay with someone, an adult, within sight and sound. And so it was mostly following around, and I'm sure we were a pain in the butt to my uncles, my dad and stuff, but we thought it was great. It was a big adventure.
That is so cool. So when did you get your first deer?
It was a few years.
Was it?
I messed up a few, obviously. I think my first year, I didn't even see a deer. Because you think you're doing a good job, but I'm sure I was fidgeting and get cold and whatever. So it was a few years, but it was worth it.
And what kind of gun did your dad have you carry?
So we had a 44 Magnum carbine.
Wow.
That my great uncle had, and that's what all of us young guys got to use. It's nice and light. It's plenty powerful and accurate.
Lever action?
Semi-automatic.
Oh.
So think of the 1022.
Yep.
It looks just like that.
Wow.
Which I still use today. I got the Hornady Lever Revolution. Works great in it. It's great for carrying in the woods. And
oh, so that's the same gun that you're shooting that.
Yeah.
So you're shooting those. I know about them, but tell the listeners and viewers about that. That Lever Revolution is a cool load.
Yeah, it's very cool. So they designed it apparently to hop up the old lever action loads, because you always have to have a rounded bullet, so you're not setting off the round in front of it in a tubular magazine. So they're kind of limited to their speed and power. But Hornady came up with it. It's got a pointed bullet and some other ballistics, and I don't know all the technical stuff, but basically you can get a lot more speed and power out of it. and it's safe enough to use in a tubular magazine.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you were shooting that when you were pretty little. And
Yeah.
I imagine you had to be a little guy back then.
Yeah.
When you're 11.
Yeah, 120 pounds, maybe.
Soaking wet.
4.5 feet tall. Yeah.
That's kind of how you got a much earlier start than I did.
Okay.
My dad, rest his soul, he made all my brothers, they had to work first to earn a gun.
Oh, okay.
And then they could go to deer camp. Well, I was so enamored with baseball, as you probably know, that I, even in summer, I did not want to work as hard as I would have had to. I had to work anyways, regardless.
Right.
But they worked 60 hours a week in the summer with my dad, construction, and then they got a gun. I was kind of defiant. I'm playing baseball all summer. I didn't get to go until I was 16, and I actually turned 17 in December 7th. So
okay.
I was 16 when I finally got to go. And my brother and my dad relented and let me borrow my brother Kenny's .6.
Oh, okay.
He had a Remington 700.
Nice.
And so it was a little bit different, but I know we both grew up hunting public ground mostly. I did. I know you still do. In the North Woods, which was hard then. Maybe as hard now or not as hard now?
I'd say, it's ebbs and flows, but it's still good years, bad years. Like last year was a tough winter, so this year is going to be a little rougher. There's more predators than there were back then, and
we didn't have wolves back then.
Yeah, no wolves, and there's way more bears and bobcats and all that. Coyotes.
Have you seen any wolf sign this year?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I've got plenty on camera, and then you see their scat and their tracks, and you'll hear them once in a while at night, or even in the daytime you'll hear them.
Bone chilling.
Yeah, it sends a shiver up the old spine, that's for sure.
First time I heard a wolf was, excuse me, I have to clear my throat here. First time I heard a wolf would have been September. Joe's going to help me with this. September of 1995.
Oh, wow.
And we were bow hunting in the North Woods, public land, big, just massive Chequamegon National Forest, huge. I think it's a couple million acres. And I didn't know what I heard. I thought it was a coyote, and it probably had to be, in hindsight, within 100 yards.
Oh, wow.
And when that thing howled, holy cow, did that it was like, I'm scared.
Yeah. There's nothing like it. That's for sure. And people, same thing, we always heard coyotes, we never heard wolves. And then in the late 90s, mid 90s, that no more coyotes, you starting to see the wolves and hear them. And it was like, is that a wolf? Is that a coyote? But it's like when you see your first one, it's like there's no question in person. It's like, that is the biggest dog I've ever seen. And that's a wolf.
There's no mistake in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people mistake it down in the southern areas, central areas of the upper Midwest. They'll see a coyote, maybe a big coyote, and they think it's a wolf. But like you said, there's no mistaking when you see a wolf.
When you see one, for sure, it's like, wow, yeah.
Deer Talk Now is brought to you by Mossberg. Mossberg has been supplying American hunters with quality firearms for over 100 years. Over the years, they've upheld their commitment to innovation by creating a handful of firearms that have shaped the way we hunt today. For more information, visit mossberg.com. Yeah. So you're hunting Northwoods, rifle country. I know you shot that caliber then, and you still shoot a little bit now. What is your go-to? Like if I said, Chris, you can only shoot one gun for gun season, which one is it going to be?
So my number one deer rifle, I have an old 257 Roberts. So it's like compared to a 25-06, maybe a little less powerful, but plenty enough for whitetails and black bears and stuff like that. And I like it. Doesn't kick too hard, but it's flat shooting. And the only thing is, not many people make it anymore, so you got to kind of save them if you can. I don't target practice a lot with it, but it's perfect. It's easy to carry. It's bolt action.
So it's a bolt action 257 Roberts. What brand rifle is that?
So it's an old Mauser 98 sporterized. So I looked up some of the markings on it, and that's probably
like a classic rifle, isn't it?
It's probably like World War II, and somebody brought it back from overseas and then had a gunsmith sporterize it, and so it's kind of special. It's not a beauty queen by any means, but it's kind of neat. I like that history and
That's very cool.
Yeah.
What do you have for optics on it?
I've got the new Leupold VX Freedom 1.5 to 4, so it's good for like short range, quick. It's like points like a shotgun, bang right there.
That's pretty cool. Nice little light rifle then.
Yeah, very light. Yeah, easy to carry, and it's got a shorter barrel. It's got like an 18-inch barrel, so it's kind of a carbine length and great to carry. Yeah.
See, I'm more homogenized than Chris. I'm not. Chris is that's a very cool. The history of the rifle. It's a caliber you don't hear about a lot about for whitetail hunting. I grew up with .6s. That was my go-to rifle. My dad shot them. My brother shot them. Actually, my dad shot the semi-automatic. They all had Remingtons back then. My dad, and don't ask me the models because I don't remember. You gun guys, you can type that in the comments because you're going to tell me what I shot. But my dad had the semi-automatic that I still have actually.
Okay.
My brother had. I know that was Model 700, a bolt action, and everything in between. I shot .6s all the way up into my early career here in deer hunting. I've got Brownings and I've got Mossbergs. Actually, I really like the Mossberg Patriot. I have a .6 in that.
That's a nice rifle,
yeah. But, our friend Mark Seidlinger, he got me onto the Creedmoor when it first came out. Well, I should say when it first started becoming popular here not that long ago. I know it was out before that. And I love that rifle now.
They're nice.
So I shoot the Mossberg in it and I shoot a Franke in it.
Okay.
And that Franke is they're both bolt action guns, but to your point, like the caliber you're shooting is a smaller caliber. Mine is too. Now, when I shot .6s, I remember my brother Tony. I know you're watching this. He was shooting like I think 220 grain Corlocks.
Yeah. And
I was shooting 180 grain Corlocks. We honestly didn't even. I don't. Tony probably didn't. I didn't. I had no clue what that meant.
Right.
But now I'm shooting. I'm shooting the Hornady loads. They sponsor our TV show. I'm shooting the American Whitetails rounds, and they're 129 grains.
Okay.
But it's a lead, and this is to anybody who is kind of like me, because you're giving me a tool.
Right.
Chris knows more about history and calibers and stuff than I do, but you're giving me this tool. I want to pull that trigger and kill a deer.
Right.
I honestly don't care about the ballistics. I really don't, because I'm not that guy. I'm not the long range shooter, even though I take some Western hunts. But that little it's the American Whitetail load, and they also have that Outfitter load. The Outfitter I think is 120 grains, maybe 119. But the American Whitetail load, it's exposed lead tip bullet. I don't care what you hear about these people on Facebook and stuff like, oh my God, that's not enough rifle and stuff. I don't know. I've killed like 3 deer with it already.
Yeah.
I haven't had one problem as long as you're hitting them where you're supposed to be hitting them.
Right.
I haven't had any problems with it.
Right. Yeah. They've got so much speed and power behind them that, yes. And same with like us, where I grew up in our camp, the Northwoods, it's like the .6 is king, and it will always reign supreme. I don't care what anybody says. And that's the same thing. Yeah. Remington, Corlocks, Hornadies, like 180 grains, 200 grains.
Federal's making great rounds.
Federal. Yeah. But these new ones.
Remington.
Yeah.
They just came out with that all copper bullet.
Yep.
I actually shot it. It's a great load. It reminds me of the old Barnes bullets, but I mean, it's and it's the small caliber stuff.
Yeah. And those will kill a deer just as dead as an .6. You don't need.
Oh no, it's not a brush gun.
Right. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah.
Define brush gun, by the way.
Right, and the studies on that too. Like guys have done studies, and nothing really is technically a brush gun. Any little thing could send it off.
You hit brush, your bullet's not going through it.
Yeah.
I don't know. People argue with us, please. We encourage it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
I shouldn't even say argue. Just make your point. I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here at my counselor table. Make your point. Why you think your caliber is better than mine. But honestly, I don't. This is to the guy who says, "Hey, I want to try it." Try it.
Yeah.
He's shooting a small caliber. I'm shooting a small caliber. We're killing deer like crazy. To me, it's all about shot placement.
Yes.
And it's being a good woodsman afterward, which is what we're going to get to.
Yes. And that's like we could go into a whole nother podcast on calibers and like the history. That would be a great great topic. Yeah.
The history, I'll take that. If you get into calibers, I'm just going to be sitting there like, I you're going to be over my head. I like reading this stuff, but to me, honestly, I don't. Now, when I was out in Utah just last week, those dudes, I mean, they are marksmen. I mean,
oh yeah, long range, altitude. Yeah,
they know their stuff
mm-hmm.
because they're shooting like they had a target. It was 980 yards.
Wow.
And it was just like the Birchwood Casey targets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we shot at the 100 one and my gun was right on.
Mm-hmm.
But we shot at that one, but it's like, but then they're talking about windage and drop, and they actually knew the stuff off the top of their head.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I'm saying, okay, if I'm centered at, I was shooting the, it was 120 grain load. And they were telling me how much it would drop at X amount of distance. Well, for me, it was very intimidating. Now, I've made 400 or 500 yard shots before, but I didn't know.
Right.
I had some guide sitting there telling me, okay, here's your turrets, and this is what you need to do.
Right. And for us, it's like you said, in at 50 and 100 is a long shot for most of us around here. So it's like.
And I think that's the case for most people watching or listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
My friends in Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi and Louisiana, they're not taking 400 or 500 yard shots.
No.
They're in a swamp somewhere and they're shooting 100 yards, maybe 80, 200 maybe. But it's all about shot placement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bullet performance can make a difference. I would say that depending, like a copper bullet, that can be a small hole if you're shooting a smaller caliber, but it's still killing the deer.
Oh yeah.
The bullet performance is gonna be there. Okay. Enough about guns, because it's like math class. I can handle about 15 minutes of that.
Yeah, reel it in here.
I got to move back. So we're talking about mostly pressured land hunting today. Again with Chris. Chris is forte with that. He's hunted out of state. He's hunted here a lot at home, public land. Let's just specifically focus this towards that Orange Army. Every state has it. So you got a lot of gun hunters. You're talking hundreds of thousands of gun hunters in most states. What is let me ask you first, Chris, opening day of gun season, what is your strategy?
Strategy, first thing is, and I know you're a big proponent of this too, is like get up as early as you can and get in the woods. Try to beat everyone in the woods if you can. That's huge. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's number one. Second is try to either get where the rest of the hunters are going to push the deer, or a little more for me is try to get where nobody else goes. Even opening day especially too is like, okay, try to still maybe find a good regular kind of a rut spot, whether it's a funnel or a bedding area, that kind of thing. But then after opening day, that kind of goes out the window. Then I'm just looking for heavy cover where nobody else goes, basically. And then just the third thing is stick it out all day if you can. If the weather's bad or whatever, try to gut it out. Even if you have to get up and maybe go for a short walk and come back, or move to a second spot to warm up or keep yourself mentally sharp. My hunting buddies and stuff give me a hard time because I have this heavy backpack, but I pack all kinds of snacks and some coffee, maybe a soda, extra maybe dry socks, or just anything that I can do to keep myself out there until dark. I know a lot of guys, and it's fine if this is what you want to do, but a lot of guys come in well before dark. They're back at the truck at dark. They don't want to be in the woods. It's like, you can't be scared of the dark. Stay till the last minute and then slowly make your way out. Those are my biggest.
Okay, I'm going to unpack that. I know what you're talking about because I do it too, but I want you to explain it more to the listeners. Why I'm going to provide my insights, which are probably the same, but why are you getting out there so early in the morning?
Because everybody's going to be pounding the woods when they get there, a lot, like slamming truck doors, talking, having cigarettes, and then shuffling through the woods, maybe bushwhacking a little bit to get to a spot they haven't been to in a year, or trying to find a spot just as it gets light. And opening day, those deer haven't felt that pressure yet, so they still might be in a regular pattern. And I'm trying to get there, one, to beat those guys there, because they don't, a lot of other, I'm not saying guys, but other hunters aren't as nice or as thoughtful, and if they see you, not everybody walks the other way. A lot of guys walk right up to you and stop and have a cigarette or eat candy and talk in a normal voice.
You seen any?
Yeah, because they're trying to screw you, or they just don't care, or they just don't know. So I'm trying to get there early, so hopefully they see me first and maybe give me a wide berth and go somewhere else, or so maybe they'll push deer past me too.
That's exactly why I do it.
Yeah.
I haven't done the big woods public thing in a while, but we have many stories of those.
Mm-hmm.
One guy tried to tell me I was on public or private land, and I said, well, unless you're Uncle Sam, you don't own this.
Mm-hmm.
But the same reasons that you do it, and you did allude to it earlier, was, and we actually had this on the podcast just a week or two ago. I saw Ian had cut some shorts out of this, but it's getting in there exactly what you said, because those deer are on a pattern normally.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get in there early, I might bust deer out of there, but then those other guys probably are coming in later, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's an hour and a half before first light. And if they're coming in, now they're basically pushing the deer right back to me.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly what you said, after opening, for us, it's on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday's opener. I know some people open, like Illinois opens on a Friday.
Okay.
Other states do same thing. I think Pennsylvania opens on, you guys can type that in the comments. I think it's a Monday, but anyways, after that, it's being in basically a travel corridor if you can. Because at some point the deer will get pushed around enough to get through there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in a big gun hunting state, it depends. If you're hunting private land, this probably doesn't apply as much to you because you're passing deer up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're on public land and you're just happy for a racked buck, you have to put yourself in the ballpark, I say, like, where you're going to be on second base, and hopefully those deer are at some point coming through there.
Right.
Also, expand upon your point. Why is it so critical to stay till dark?
Just because same kind of thing. Those deer might still be on a regular pattern if they didn't get bumped around during the day and they're already back to bed or something during the day when the other hunters are there. You still might catch them coming out of their bedding area, right at dark or just before dark. So it's worth, or those guys are on their way out half hour before and they might bump the deer back towards you in that security cover. And part of it too, we've talked about this before, is being an old sneaky buck yourself. Like, if I'm walking out in and out at the same time as all these other guys, they're going to start questioning, or they might try to follow me or, know where I am. Whereas if I just sit in my little spot and nobody sees where I am or coming and going, just like with the deer, the less they know about me, the better.
It's about outsmarting the other hunters.
Yeah.
And if you're hunting public land, if you're new to it, you have to get this through your head that you are trying to outsmart hunters, probably more so than the deer, especially with rifle or gun.
Gun season for sure.
Muzzleloader gun, right center fire, shotgun, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I would pick up on what Chris said is, and I know a lot of people who always had a problem with, why does it have to be dark? I can't illegally shoot anymore. It's because you're trying to keep as much pressure off those deer as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can delay that by a day or two, and even more, which normally isn't the case because after a couple days, the deer know what's going on.
Yeah.
But if you can delay that so let's just say end of shooting time is 4:45, and it gets dark at 5:10, somewhere in there, and you're staying till 5:20 or 5:30 sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're like, my God, I don't want to sit here for a half an hour in the dark. That's allowing those deer, if they're still on a natural travel pattern, they might come through there in the dark. You can't shoot them legally or even possibly.
Right.
But they're going to come through there, not smell you, not see you crawl out of that tree. And then tomorrow, lo and behold, you might kill that deer at 4:35, like 10 minutes of legal shooting light left. He might come back through there.
Right.
That's a great point. The other point is, you talked about outsmarting other hunters, and you and I have talked about this all the time. My biggest thing was this is specifically for the public land guys. Do not let other people go through every possible means of not letting another hunter see where you enter the woods, see where you exit the woods, and by all means, if you kill a deer, drag it out.
Right.
Because if you drag that buck out and they saw that you got one, I can guarantee you for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, those guys are going to be hunting that spot. Because remember that guy that got that 8-pointer?
Yeah.
They pick up on that stuff and they know it.
Yeah, or once you get it out, don't sit with it by your truck on the side of the road because anybody driving by, oh, hey, what's going on?
They got one there.
What you guys got there?
Yep.
Yeah.
They got one there.
And it sounds ridiculous, but it happens. It's true.
And do not tell them where you're hunting.
No. Anybody asks you, say, in the woods.
In the woods.
Or we always say by, Dead Man's Slough, way over west of here.
Coffee Lake.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, that is probably the best tactic I can give you. And I think we might have talked about this, but I would drag deer through creeks way out of the way. Completely. I would go back through the brush just to show or just to prevent them. Because a lot of public spots have a public designated parking spot.
Yeah.
And guys use the same trails, especially gun hunters.
Yep.
Like you said, it might be that guy only has a day to hunt, a weekend to hunt.
Right.
And he's going to do it. And he's
Can't blame him.
And you said he's afraid of the dark. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And he's walking in and, oh, man, guy dragged him through his blood all over here. That gives him even more confidence that he's in the right spot.
Right.
So, okay, so we talked about that. What about, so a 9-day season for you, a gun season. Are you hunting that whole 9 days? Are you cherry picking which days you hunt, or how do you approach it?
Fortunately, it's worked out the last few years. I've had the vacation and I can stay and hunt the whole time. So yeah, we hunt hard, in the middle of the week, maybe sleep in if you're dog tired, whatever, a little bit. Maybe less guys, but that's another big part of it too. As I've learned over the years, is you gotta cut it out and
can't kill him from the couch.
That's right, and it's the same thing. It sounds funny, it sounds ridiculous, but it's so true. Like you gotta stay sharp, and it's still November. Anything can happen, and it's been proven just in our little group over the years. It's like, God, it's like Thanksgiving Day. So you're like almost 6 or 7 days into the gun season. I haven't seen a deer in like 3 days. Haven't heard a gunshot. I heard a shot yesterday 2 miles away. And then literally either on trail camera or we've had it happen. It's like, boom, there's a buck trotting across an open hardwood ridge, not pressured, but just searching for does. And it's like halfway through gun season. It still happens. Like 3 years ago, it happened to my brother. It was the year we got all that snow. I was like, well, we saw some deer first weekend, and then so quiet, and everyone's down and out, and you talk to your neighbors, and everyone's nothing. My brother went out Thanksgiving afternoon on just an easy spot. You can see a good ways. It's kind of a refresher, and we're like, we're not going to see anything. And literally a nice buck, nice 8-pointer, came charging down this hardwood ridge, wide open at like 1 p.m, searching for does, and he got it.
Wow, that's
just because
awesome.
he was out there, he stuck it out. It's still November. It can happen.
That's awesome, and that is a good tactic. I use that for bow hunting here at home. My favorite times to bow hunt early season are Wednesdays, Thursdays.
Yep.
Middle of the week, mornings, if you got a good morning spot for bow hunting. But gun season, exactly that. It's a game in human psychology. Wednesday, usually there's some guys still hanging around. Thanksgiving Day, everybody's eating, watching football.
Right.
And that's a time I want to be on a stand. Or Friday. Okay, so let's say you hunt in a state that it's not falling over a holiday. That middle of the week, like you said, normally a lot of the states that have these short seasons, it's tough. Illinois's got 2-3 day seasons.
Yeah.
Michigan's got 2 weeks that they can hunt. Other states, short seasons. So you kind of got to pick and choose, but also don't dismiss or even disparage some states that have later muzzleloader seasons.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might go, that's a tactic. Like gun season, there's too much. The place I can hunt gets too much pressure. But you know what? If I just stay out of there for 2 weeks, the muzzleloader season kicks in, And now I can go hunt probably pretty unpressured deer.
Oh, yeah, almost by yourself. Have the woods to yourself.
You're not going to see like a buck behind every tree, and you might not even see a lot of deer. But like you said, there could be that 1 o'clock in the afternoon encounter if you're out there. That you're going to have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the mental game. The
Yeah.
mental game is the hardest thing. Richard Smith wrote about this a lot in deer and deer hunting over the years, and he is one of those guys who had the sharpest mental toughness.
Mm-hmm.
Just stick it out. It's hard, man.
It is.
And until you've hunted like Chris has hunted on public land, I've done it. I will admit haven't done it at home during hunt season, but I've done it on out-of-state hunts. And for me, it's mostly Canada.
Okay.
If you can, and I've never killed a big one up there, but you don't have a choice. They drop you off in the morning, they pick you up at night.
Mm-hmm.
And by the third day, you think you're going to go insane. I mean, you really do. And it's like, but you build that like, okay, I'm going to, like Chris talks about, you got to keep yourself comfortable, number one.
Yeah.
And warm.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be bored. I'd say you're going to be hungry. You're probably not going to be hungry. You're just going to be bored. So just bring them enough stuff to eat.
Yeah, little things to snack on, yeah.
And now we've got these things. You can download a RBI baseball game or something to keep you occupied.
Yeah, read a little book if you have to. Yeah, or mental game too, like I do when it's cold to stay warm. It's like, okay, every half hour, 45 minutes, I'm going to stand up and kind of, what do they call it? I don't even know what they call it. Calisthenics, where you just squeeze the muscles.
Charlie used to do that all the time.
And it keeps me, okay, then it's like, a half hour, I got this to kind of look forward to. Or maybe every 45 minutes, I'm going to do a grunt sequence. And then I'm sharp for 15, 20 minutes. Just something to tick off the hours instead of just sitting there like staring at the woods like with nothing going on. It little things kind of get you through the day is what's worked for me for those like all day sits, I guess.
This episode is also brought to you by GameHide. At GameHide, the philosophy is pretty simple. Design the best products with the best fabrics and features to help you be more successful in the field. While doing this, they strive to keep their pricing moderate to give you the best value in the hunting clothing industry. I wear the Elimitic line of clothing to keep those nasty ticks off of me, and I absolutely love it. Check them out at GameHide.com. I'm glad you brought that up because Charlie Alsheimer did this, and I actually forgot about it until you just mentioned that. You think you climb up in that stand and you need to sit stone still the entire day. Charlie would get out of his stand, climb out of his stand.
Oh, okay.
And those hang-on stands 20 feet up in the tree.
Mm-hmm.
He would climb out of his stand probably every 2 hours to the base of the tree, to the ground. He would do like touch your toes.
Oh, okay.
He would do real calisthenics.
Okay.
Climb back up in the tree.
Okay.
And you know how successful he was.
Yeah. If that's what it takes, go for it. Yeah. And even, or just when you're all bundled up, just like go from muscle to muscle and just like flex your muscles as you're sitting or kind of shuffle your feet a little bit.
I need to do that so I don't get blood clots.
Yeah, wiggle your toes or whatever. Yeah, it helps. It works. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up. We obviously going to have to do another one of these because we didn't even scratch the surface. But I'm going to give one tip on staying – I'm cherry picking. I'm going to give one tip on staying warm for gun season, and then you have to provide one.
Okay.
So I'm going to give a tip for keeping your feet warm because that's one I get a lot.
Okay.
And for me, it's important, like I said, with my blood condition, I have to do it. But what I do, and this will help anybody, whether you have blood condition or not, I wear a polypropylene liner sock. They're super, super light. They cost a couple bucks, and they're ankle length. That polypropylene keeps the sweat away from my feet, and that's why your feet get cold. It's not because your boots are bad. It's because your feet get cold. So a light polypropylene liner sock, and then I wear those big, long, it's another, I don't know if it's polypropylene, but it's another synthetic fabric that goes all the way over your calf.
Oh, okay.
And that they're long, people wear them for blood clots, but they're long socks. I get those over my calves, and then just one medium weight, either a wool sock or like a wool blend.
Okay.
And then make sure that your warm weather boots are way bigger than your feet. So if you take a normal size 11, that boot should be a size 12.
Absolutely.
And that's what I have. I have size 12 boots. They're if I just put my foot in them with a regular sock, they're huge.
Yeah.
But there's enough air circulation in there to keep my feet warm. So if you do that, if you do anything, just wear a polypropylene liner. If you don't have to do the calf socks, a polypropylene liner and then like a wool or wool equivalent sock with big boots, you're fine. Okay, Chris's tip for keeping you warm on stand.
Okay, since you covered the feet, I'll do the other little things. So extremities, like I have a hand warmer muff, and I load up the little hot hand warmer packs, stuff them in there. I don't like wearing thick gloves when I shoot. Maybe a thin pair with that. And don't wait till you start getting cold, because then it's almost too late. You're fighting to warm back up. Do it as soon as you're not hot from your walk in. And then the second thing is cover your face and double up your head. Like I wear a baseball cap or triple up, a small stocking cap, and then a heavier one over it. And again, don't like worry about toughing it out. Just put it on right away, because that heat that you built up walking to your stand, then you're holding it in. Like you created that heat, and now you want to save it the rest of the day. Those are little things that
it's a great point.
Worked for me. Yeah.
And for me, with being follically challenged, what I do is what Chris says is get in there and make sure you're not sweating when you put that stuff on.
Yeah.
I used to. I don't do it so much anymore because I'm sitting in nice, comfortable bank blinds now. But when we used to hunt the climbers, let myself cool off, and I used to keep a little hand towel.
Oh,
and
okay.
I would dry myself off, like
That's
my head especially. Make sure my head's dry and cool, and then put. I actually wore a face mask, like a full face mask, a thin one.
Okay. Yep.
And then the hat, and then the wool hat. But great points.
Yeah, and to add just to that, same thing, walking out, like it may be a pain, or your buddies might give you a hard time, but don't wear all your stuff out, even the socks. Wait, like I do it, just what you did with the sock system, but I wear just regular cotton socks when I walk out, have a Ziploc bag, and it takes a little more time, but it's worth it. Take those cotton socks off that are soaked with sweat, zip them up in that Ziploc, put it in your pack, and then put your stuff on. Your big stuff.
That's
on,
what I did in Canada when we'd walk out there. I would walk out there in sweatpants and a long sleeve T-shirt, and it was 0 degrees.
Right.
Stop when you're about 50, 75, 100 yards from the stand. Completely stripped down. It sucks. It's cold. But then you get all nice and warm because you can put your nice clothes on, and then get up in the stand and you're ready to go.
Yep, and it works. It helps you stay out all day. Yep.
All right, for Chris Berens, thank you, Chris. That's some great tips.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We're going to do it again, and I want to wish all of you success out in the field, but be safe by all means. Be sure to Chris is going to tell you about the almanac here quick, because we got the brand new 2024. We have to get that in before we go.
Oh, right. So if you're on the stand all day, this is perfect. We've talked about this.
It.
Shove it in your backpack, in your pocket, and you can flip through all kinds of tips and tactics. You can read about all the harvest statistics from all the states with whitetails, Canadian provinces. There's just a ton of info, 200 pages.
It's like $10.
$10, yeah.
You're going to read it all year long.
Yep.
And it's at Deer and Deer Hunting. Just go to the shop tab at Deer and Deer Hunting. You can get the almanac. You can get the magazine. And that's about it. So for until next Thursday, when we drop another podcast, for Chris Berens, I'm Daniel Schmidt and Ian Sanchez. We'll catch you for another episode of the Deer Talk Now podcast.
It's also a great way to stay off your phone in the stand. Like it's an actual book.
It's an actual
Good
book.
point.
Who brings an actual book to the stand?
Yeah, right.
It's an actual book that you're not going to lose battery power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
An emergency situation, you got to start a fire. Boom. Forget your toilet paper.
There you go. You might have a little ink residue, but. Deer Talk Now is brought to you by 10-Point Crossbow Technologies. Whether I'm in a tree stand, ground blind, or spot and stalk hunting, I know the Nitro 505 is up to any challenge. Check one out at a dealer near you, or log on to 10pointcrossbows.com for more information.